We'll call Sawyer County Public Works Committee meeting to order. Ask the clerk to take roll, please.
Ron Kinsley,
Here.
Mark Helwig,
Here.
Ed Peters,
Here.
Dale Olson, Susie Taylor.
Thank you. Let the record indicate we have a quorum, certification, compliance with open meeting laws and rule.
Notice has been sent.
The agenda is in front of us. There's no change to the agenda. Public comments. Anybody have anything for public comments? Hearing none, we have the minutes of the previous meeting on December 9th.
Make a motion to approve minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Helwig, second by Mr. Peters to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 6, Highway Commissioner's report.
Okay, everyone received the report? Just a couple, or I guess one update. On the interviewing for hiring, we had interviewed one person for the shop mechanic on Wednesday, January 6th. We interviewed another individual on Tuesday, January 12th, and we put an offer out to that person, and I'm pretty sure they have accepted, although I haven't heard officially from Rose Woollyrook. But so at this point, we're fully staffed now, so things should be good to go. And all the people, as I mentioned before, both the new hires have been trained. And the one, this will be his second storm. The other gentleman will actually be his first storm starting out, but he did some fill-in work on the last storm, so he's experienced now. And I mean, these are experienced people. I mean, they have their CDL licenses. So nothing else to report.
Anybody have a virus working the highway?
Well, we've had 7 people that have had it. They're all back to work. So, but we're still in conversations with other county highway departments. We mask all the time, and some of these other ones, no public is allowed in yet. We've got that locked, appointment only, and the appointment is out in the cold on the front. I think we're doing a really good job of trying to keep safe out there. And I know, talking with some of my counterparts, they don't have the same, some of them don't even have the same policies. I mean, like, they can host highway commissioner meetings, they can do whatever. And they only throw their masks on when the administrator comes around, so. So no, I'm pretty proud of my guys. I'm sure there's some that aren't wearing them when they're riding around together, but I can't be everywhere holding their hands at all times, so.
Thank you. Any questions on the Commissioner's report? Move on. Letter B, fund balance.
Well, the funds, they are dwindling. This is through November. In comparison to last year, don't look as good as last year, but don't get scared. This isn't the bottom line. We've got just some highlights. If you look in winter maintenance, last year at this time, we had expended $648,000 winter maintenance. Through November, we're at $433,000. So we're down in winter maintenance. We did get gigged pretty hard over the holidays. I've heard reports some people had up to 37 hours overtime. And we had, the timing was awful. It started Wednesday afternoon and it went Thursday, Friday. I think we even went out once on Saturday morning during that holiday break there. So it adds up. And that'll be reflected when we hit the overtime report. But.
Okay, let's move forward to the overtime report, please.
Well, you can see where we're at overtime in relation to 2019. We had, $819. this is wrong here. This is through, what am I looking at here? Through December, okay, December. I had this all, in my mind, I was thinking differently. Okay, so, yeah, overtime for December. No, we're pretty good. I mean, you can see how we ended up overall for the year. 49,000 compared to 40,000. The state 48 compared to 32. I don't want to say we don't care about the state, but we do. But you know, that's 100% reimbursed. So we really, I mean, it's for our purposes, we want to key in on the county. So even with that addition there, we really came up pretty good. It's been a pretty mild winter, you know, really from our perspective. We haven't been out that many times, and it's been nice. It's been kind of a break, especially for our patrol superintendent. But fun will start again tomorrow afternoon. So,
Any further questions for Gary? Hearing none, thank you, Gary. I think you do a wonderful job up there.
just, you know, Tweet, I wanted to mention, we did, I forgot to mention this, we got, I notified the committee last month that we got the MLS, and I reached out to Tweet, and we are in communications now with the BIA, and I believe LCO put it on their tip, which is the Transportation Improvement Program. Is that correct, Tweet?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's good. That was a project that we went, and LCO was a secondary sponsor on it. So it'll be a nice project. 6.4 miles of County Road B from Frog Road east to the joint County Road A. So
Great.
I appreciate it too.
We do too.
How
And
about
I
the-
think we got, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I think we got that, maybe Gary, because we combined or went together with state, county, and tribe on
Yeah.
that initiative.
I wish we had got it in the initial round, but I'm not gonna be, I mean, it's 200,000. We really wanted whatever it was, 500 and some thousand. We got 200, but I'm, like I said at the last meeting, I'm not gonna complain about it because it has no effect on any future entitlements or funding or anything. And Ed, you would appreciate that. It'd be like having a partial LRIP funding, which you wouldn't want. So it doesn't carry with us. So that's a good
Great.
thing.
All right. Thank you. Move on to number 7. Maintenance report. Do we have any questions on the maintenance report? Anything you want to comment about?
Well, I tell you, probably not much that's not on there. You know, I put in there that we are working in the WIC room. We just, you know, well, that's probably jumping ahead to my next month's report, but, you know, we did do some renovations in an office and get a couple, made enough space for two, the Justice Point employees now, that started in the office today. So, yeah, we've been just kind of jumping around on a lot of different projects, and like Gary, you know, we've had a reprieve from the snow. And hopefully tomorrow, I'm hoping tomorrow morning to get our second truck back, but we're kind of down a truck right now, so if the snow hits too hard on us, we might be a little backed up, but nothing too major. You know, it was on me. I clipped the light pole out here on the last time plowing the parking lot, so I backed into the light pole with Super Duty, and the weather forecast looked good when that got scheduled to get in and get done, and then all of a sudden it was like, you know, but I talked to the auto body today and I said, am I gonna have a truck tomorrow? They said, yeah, we think you're gonna have it right away in the morning, so we should be back good by the time storm hits, so we'll be ready to go.
Are you down a plow truck?
Yeah, the Super Duty, because I clipped that light pole.
Well, if you get in a real bad pinch, the committee probably knows we purchased that plow to do that Jonan's bridge, the bridge on County Road E over the Coudray River, and you know, in between that, it would be available.
I'll keep you in mind.
If
yeah,
it was
just
a
in case
qualified operator, I want to make sure it was someone else other than you. Like,
You know, I'll tell you.
huh? Noel, maybe?
After all. I couldn't believe the first time I clipped something like that.
Yeah, I don't want anyone
Couldn't
doing
believe
that.
it was,
You came over a new leaf this year?
No, I just, we
Other than
scratch each
that-
other's backs.
Hey, Tim, I was just curious, these, office move arounds, whatever shifts and all that, will these change at all when the building is built?
Well, basically what we did is we moved the coroner's office. He was taking, he had a office space up where Lynn is at now. And so, basically what happened, UW Extension had freed up an office because they, Tom, you could probably answer this better than I can, but I believe they had we had a worker at the courthouse that left UW Extension. Their replacement is working, I believe, out of Washburn County. So that opened up an office space downstairs. And so, we're kind of in a little bit of a change up in the clerk's office. It'll end up with the treasurer. So it'll be Diane, Lynn, and Sandy Heavy in the one area. And so that's why we wanted to free up that office. And so that's why we put the coroner downstairs. So, and then, obviously if we can gain some real estate when we get the new courthouse, that would have probably helped. We wouldn't have had to, we'd probably had office space for 2 Justice Point people instead of putting 2 in 1, but Diane's office had a lot of square footage, so we were able to, it's still a pretty roomy office, so.
Wasn't the corner downstairs?
Yeah, the coroner was downstairs, and then we moved him upstairs for extension. And I think it was, to put extension downstairs, so, and then it was just reshuffling again, so. But otherwise, I think, other than that, I don't see a whole lot of moves on the horizon. I mean, I think we're pretty set.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tim, who's doing our maintenance and repairs on our fleet now? Is
Okay,
that
that-
doing pretty well, or is that?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination. We, based on because the composure of our fleet has changed somewhat, so majority of the vehicles right now are still being serviced at Timber. The Sheriff's Department is still, predominantly Ford. But in 2020, between vehicles we ordered and then vehicles we had to replace because we totaled a couple in the sheriff's fleet in 2020. We now have 4 Chevy Tahoes. Those get serviced at Don Johnson, so that's local.
Yep.
Ambulance fleet gets serviced at, part of it, anything stationed in Hayward gets serviced right now at Timber. Anything Round Lake, Stone Lake, Jibwa gets serviced at Lincoln Rice Lake right now. And then in the 2021, we ordered 3 Sheriff's Department vehicles, and all 3 of those vehicles will be Dodge. And so when they get in the fleet, then we'll have those 3 will be being serviced at Hayward Chrysler. So, it's pretty, so most of our fleet is being serviced right now.
You're happy with all that and where everything's going pretty much?
Yeah, I can
Oh,
answer
I'm
the other
sorry,
part of
I'm
that too. I did meet with Kurt Belke at Timber Ford yesterday, and we had a conversation about, the ambulance service, and we've got 3 ambulances that are heading that direction to Timber Ford in the near future here. We've got a new service director over there, and so we worked through some of the issues that we've had in the past and hope to continue that relationship with Timber here in the near future.
Great.
What kind of Dodges are they getting?
They're ending up with 2 all-wheel drive Chargers and 1 Durango for 21.
Any further questions for Tim? Is there anything you want to add on the project report?
Not that I can think of.
Thank you. Appreciate all you do. Number 8, Sawyer County Airport report. Welcome back.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't here last month. Had a newborn at home. It's kind of a loaded report this month, and lots of different things to talk about. It's been kind of heavy airport here lately, period. I can report that Tom and I spent probably more time than we should talking on the phone about all sorts of different things. Some of which are detailed out in the report, just generic things as Tom and I kind of try to work through a few different issues out at the airport. I know that the hangar leases are going to be a thing that's coming up pretty quick, that it's going to require some committee input. But Tom could probably, I don't know if we need to talk about that anymore. It's not much to report right now.
That is on the agenda for a little later in the process here.
Oops. I didn't print off the agenda, that's my fault.
So,
There's been, snow removal's been light, which helps. Our equipment's running pretty good. I think Tim said he put the sander in the older pickup truck for tomorrow. We got a couple flights in and out, so we can get out and sand the runway if we need to get some planes in. Tom and I talked again today, and Tom, I've had some conversations since we talked to last too. There's been kind of a renewed effort from multiple operators at the airport about the county's ability to put chemical down on the runway. We've talked about it at length, and we do have some on hand for kind of an emergency standpoint. But a couple operators have talked about, what the process would be to buy some of the chemical themselves for it to get put down and have the county do it. And Tom and I talked about that, and the possibilities of just trying to increase the capacity for the county's equipment and overall operations when it comes to putting chemical on the runway. So, right now we don't put anything down, maybe once a year. And, I wouldn't say that's uncommon for airports our size, but there are airports our size that treat the runway every time it snows. And right now we're putting down solid de-icer, basically after the fact, whereas the more appropriate thing to do is to put down a liquid de-icer prior to. And we don't have it. The budget has always been pretty strapped for doing that, but there could be some conversations coming down the way about folks that fly in and out of the airport getting involved in helping support increasing our capabilities for making the runway safer. That's going to be interesting. We do a pretty good job, I think, snow removal right now. We don't get too many complaints. Our equipment's limited. We usually only ever have one person working out there unless Tim comes out with super duty. But nice thing is there's not people complaining. So I think Tim does a good job, especially over Christmas. Even on Christmas Eve, Nate was out plowing like crazy. If we're doing that on holidays, it means a lot. So a little plug for him as well. Any questions on the report? I know I kind of tackled the NOTAM discussion. I think that is on the agenda for later.
tell us a little bit more about what you have to, how do you want to word it? To inform the people out there what the airport is like, conditions. What is it called? No team?
No, Tim.
All right, we want to talk about NOTAMs now, or we want to wait on the agenda?
You got it in the report.
Well, that's just the resource that I use to type it out, that's all.
We can,
Assuming everybody read what I wrote in the agenda, in the report, and then the information that I attached from the Bureau of Aeronautics individual. Part of the deal out at the airport, you have to post NOTAMs. The level and extent, I think, is what was being called into question a little bit as to when and how, and what they look like. I've been doing it for a long time, there's certainly some room for improvement. I met with some of the operators at the airport and talked about that, and was educated myself a little bit as what is seen at other airports as well, and trying to make an effort to improve upon what I'm already doing, as far as posting NOTAMs. There's always room for improvement. The timeliness is been brought up a question too, when they get posted, because the airport's not staffed overnight. That's kind of what was the response in from the Bureau of Aeronautics, is that it's not expected to be monitored and staffed overnight. So the conditions not monitored isn't uncommon in that situation for it to cover that time period when there's nobody at the airport.
Yes.
Well, let's say it snows and, you know, after you plowed and everything, do you do a report then?
Mhm.
So when there are some weather conditions, even though there's nobody at the airport, like you say, manning it, you still do an updated report?
Well, you know, it's tough if you're not physically at the airport to post a notum about what the conditions are at the airport. You know, so like, say you get a snowstorm overnight, you leave the airport, you know, at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, there's 2 or 3 inches of snow, and it's snowing to beat the band. Occasionally, I'll close the airport, you know, and I'll just make a notum closure too. I mean, usually if we get, you know, stronger than 6 inches of snow, I just close the airport via the notum system. And it happens a few times. I did it once already this year, you know, just for, I think, 3 or 4 hours. I closed the airport.
So how do you know what the conditions are? You know, how to get these people the information, since there's nobody there, you got no internet, you say, you know.
Well, we're there 7 days a week,
Yeah.
you know, between the hours of 8 and 5, 8 and 6. A lot of times I'm there after hours periods for other reasons too. So that's why the notum goes out saying, you know, the conditions aren't monitored between those certain hours, you know, the hours of, you know, 5 or 6 p.m. to 7 or 8 a.m. is common. Which at that point, it doesn't matter what the conditions are at the airport, you're stating that the conditions aren't monitored. That's the notification for the pilot to know that there's no one there to observe the pavements, to observe the conditions.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Just since I'm a rookie on the committee, what is a NOTAM? What does that stand for?
Well, it's a notice to airmen. I don't know.
Okay,
if
okay.
NOTAM. Mike, is there a notice to airmen? That's all it is?
You just spelled on.
Yeah, there's no other.
Okay,
It's a notice, and it's basically, it's, you know, from a pilot's perspective, especially when you're flying IFR instruments, you know, you're in contact with Minneapolis Center, an air traffic controller. Every time an aircraft comes in and out of the airport that's on an instrument plan, you're talking to Minneapolis Center. So every time you're getting close to the airport, you know, ATC is typically giving you the notams, you know, what the conditions are, you know, because a lot of times conditions can change between the time a jet takes off, you know, and 3 hours later it gets to the airport too. Plus they have the capability of reading them in the cockpit with most updated instruments panels too, for seeing those.
Do you have very many flights coming in, you know, during the night, say from 10
Well,
to
they do.
5 in the morning?
They come in and out. Yeah, we had, I call them ghost flights, you know, when nobody calls, you know, to say that they're coming in. And then if you get creative enough, you can go through the process of getting your aircraft blocked. You know, me as an airport owner, as a FBO owner, as airport manager, I have lots of tools at my disposal for keeping tabs of who's coming in and out and when. I get notifications from 3 different platforms that tell me when airplanes file flight plans to the airport, when they've taken off, when they're 30 minutes out, when they've landed, when they've scheduled flight plans to leave. There are ways to get off of those systems, but I would say for the most part, something probably like 95% or stronger of the planes that come in and out, we are aware of them. Typically, like the ghost plane that came in the other day, we got, I don't know, 1 inch of snow overnight, and I had my NOTAM up for 1 inch of snow. I got to work in the morning, and there was tracks all over the place. You could see the jet, you know, it was a turboprop, landed and came into the terminal building, and there was footprints all over the place, and I still have no idea who it was. Most jets don't, most planes, period, don't do that. King Airs, it was a turboprop. Think about it like a 4-wheel drive pickup truck. If there's an inch or 2 of snow on the runway, they really don't care. With King Airs, a lot of times. They're performance-wise, they don't even need to use their brakes to stop. They just can reverse the pitch on their props, and, you know, I don't think it's smart, but it does happen. It does happen.
Thank you. Letter B, reports and entitlements. Is there anything that's changed that needs to stand out?
I don't believe so.
We're still on schedule for crack sealing or,
For the project, yeah, we got a pre-construction meeting coming up. And I know we're gonna be working on getting a letter to send out to all the hangar owners at the airport, kind of letting them know what's gonna happen. And there's still some question marks as to what access folks are gonna have in and out of their hangars, myself included with the new hangar. You know, how long we're not gonna be able to get aircraft in and out, and what the options are. There's certainly gonna be a period of time where you're not gonna be able to get down in and out of those hangars. And we're just hoping to try to minimize it as much as possible.
the best thing to do is keep them informed the best you can. That helps
Yep.
too.
Yep, and the engineer will be, usually the letters go out from the engineer on that. That's part of the gig for them. And then I just, try to help with the addresses, and most of the guys I don't want to say all of them, but most of them, they know this has been coming. And I talk to them regularly.
Thank you. Letter C, terminal remodel discussion, possible action. Where are you gonna start?
Tom?
Well, I'll introduce the topic. As we went through the process last year and a half, with working through the arrangements and agreements with the FBO, the new FBO agreements, part of that was the lease space at the airport, the terminal building, and the prerogative that Hayward Aviation has to make improvements to that building. So they've been working on that plan. That's something that they had talked about initially, that they would be making those improvements on their expense and their dollar. So the information that is before you today is the information compiled by Hayward Aviation as they've kind of planned what that remodel is going to look like, expressing that they are in compliance, with the building codes and applicable laws, and are looking to proceed on that. They've got the prerogative to do that, but to remain in good standing, just bringing it to your attention, making you aware of it. And if you've got any concerns before they proceed, we can talk about those as well. So,
Do you want a motion to approve from committee for this?
well, the committee can ask questions. It might be nice if the committee at least acknowledged, the willingness to proceed with that. But turn it over to the committee and see what the questions and comments are.
Well, we sent a whole bunch of information out. I think there was a question mark as to what we wanted to send to committee, period. And we kind of just opt for sending everything we had, for your guys' review, so you can see what our plans are out there and what we're up to. I don't want to be secretive about it, but at the same time, we don't want to open up, things like paint colors for discussion. Mark, I know you really want. But I guess, in the spirit of, living up to the things that I and we said that we wanted to do as part of the process, and something to keep in mind in the long haul, the long run is, it should be in the county's 10-year plan, with entitlement dollars and funding to consider, taking advantage of that for putting in a new terminal building. That's happens all over the place all the time in the state. There's funds available for it. And, in a 10-year plan, I certainly think looking at the airport and some of the needs that it has, there's possibility for that in the future. And I don't know how we're going to ever get through that, contractually with Hayward Aviation leasing the terminal building space. But, we need these improvements now. We're in business now, and if we lose out on money that we invested into the building because 10 years down the road we're getting a better building, I'm not going to complain. That'll just be something we have to take when it comes. So
I don't recall, would that be our responsibility to build a new facility?
Yes, it would be. Using funding from, the federal and state funding.
Yeah, so 5%
5%?
cost to the county, yeah. I mean, we even, talked about it ourselves, the money that we're investing into the building, and we talked about maybe trying to do a little bit more, and we've kind of gone end around on it. We've got that hangar there at the airport too, and, it's easier just to keep operating out of this building for us, and maybe.
That is the topic before us today, is just the remodel and not the discussion about any future building.
Correct.
And that they are, willing to put in the money into the existing facility to improve it and make it nicer for the people coming and going out of our airport, so.
Well, if you'd like to have a motion, just so it's on record that we're good with it as a committee, I'll make a motion to approve them to make the improvements.
I have a question, and I know you need to have a second.
I'll second
So we have a motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mr. Peters to approve what they're presenting to us. I do have a question, and I don't know if you can answer or not, but I'll throw it out there and see where it goes. Do you have a timeline set up to have this done? Do you have someone to do the remodel lined up?
Yeah, and I think we've already ordered some of the artwork, and we're ready to dive in on this pretty quick.
Okay. Can I ask what the timeline is roughly?
We'll probably start having conversations tomorrow if it gets approved. To start setting things up to get people out. I mean, everything takes time, and we'll probably have to take it in some phases for different things, but that's one of the nice things with, reaching out with an interior design company is, the commercial regulations are incredible. Reading through them, just the furniture being, fire retardant and different things like that. I've kind of taken a step back from the interior design a little bit myself and kind of let them, I don't want to say run away with it, but, I'm not an interior design person. I'm not. I can fuel airplanes. I think I do a halfway decent job managing the airport. When it comes to interior design and what the plans are, I'm more kind of a passenger through that process.
You don't have to be good at everything. You just have to know the contacts, who to make it right. So tell me what the timeline is. I mean, is it going to be done this spring?
Oh yeah, it's going to be done in the next couple of months. We've already secured financing for the project.
Do you have a timeline when it needs to be done? And
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to take until, on Memorial Day. I mean, the plan is, by the time tourism season comes up again, to have everything done, because, we need it. I mean, it gets busy enough where we can't be in construction mode, in spring, summer. It just doesn't work.
This is all internal stuff, sorry, jump in there. It's all internal,
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah, we're not doing anything to the footprint or the exterior of the building. Maybe next year I'll think about painting the building or something. I'm not sure.
Derek, what I'm looking for is if you have a contract with somebody and you have a deadline when it needs to be done, this is what I'm telling you. If they go past the deadline, you can make it so that the price goes down and they have some kind of penalty. We've done that a lot at the county. I don't want to see it get drug all summer long and make you pay the price for that. That's what I'm trying to share with you, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharing some of his wisdom.
Derek, is this 100% entitlements, or is this part of your FBO agreement, or is the county?
This is all
Responsible for part of
all on
this.
Hayward Aviation, and I don't get entitlements. I wish I got entitlements.
But the airport does.
The airport does, but this is on us. Yeah, the county's not funding this at all.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mr. Peters. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Derek. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Dale Olson. Would you please just write down my vote as abstained, please?
Yes, we can do that. Thank you.
All right, because that's my niece. So,
No problem.
all right, thank you.
Thanks for contributing.
The interior design lady? I never knew.
Mr. Olson, do you have any other questions or?
No, I'm absolutely fine with it. Just I didn't want to have any sense of impropriety.
Yeah, and that's well taken. Appreciate that. Letter D, renewal of hangar lease discussion and possible action.
I'll introduce this topic as well. As you recall, we recently had a lease or a hangar purchased by Hayward Aviation, and in reviewing the lease on that hangar, we've also had a change in the county clerk, who was taking care of the lease payment, bookkeeping on that end. But as we looked at some of the leases more closely, we thought, I discovered that a couple of them had expired and need to be renewed. So we're in the middle of a process to review and take inventory of all the hangar leases and review them and get them all up to date. So we didn't get that ready for this evening, but we do bring it to your attention because it'll come before you probably next month. Just what the resolution is to fix the expired leases and to carry on with the process to keep a better eye on those. We also got Rebecca, our legal counsel, on the line. She's been trying to organize those leases and review them. Rebecca, do you have further comment at this time?
No, other than just a quick observation that I think that this is a really good project for the county to be undertaking at this point in time. I think it's a prime time for the county to do a thorough inventory of what your leases say, the consistency requirements, compliance requirements. So I give you credit for undertaking this project. That's it.
Thank you.
So stay tuned for next month.
Letter E, is there anything else we want to talk about regarding letter E?
Did you want to talk about anything? You know what? My name is Mike Dunlop. I'm the Director of Aviation.
If you could step up by the microphone, because we have committee members that are online here as well. Thank you. State your name again please when you get up to the mic. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Mike Dunlop. I'm the Director of Aviation for Jack Links. I'm just really here in support of Derek, but I'm also here to encourage the county to continue to focus on excellence at the airport. And we want to be a partnership. We want to help in that process. We've sat down and had lots of discussions with Derek. And, I think there was a lot of good questions about NOTAMs. But what I would say is that I don't think you have the knowledge base to know what questions to really ask. NOTAMs are a critical piece to me as a pilot making good decisions. If I don't have good information, I can't make good decisions. And I think I think we have some opportunities. It's those opportunities that I've shared with Derek, and I would really encourage that maybe the county would consider bringing on maybe a consultant or a mentor and continue to help the airport grow, continue to help foster improvements and move it in a positive direction. And I think Derek is open-minded to that. I think we've seen some positive change over the past couple of years, and certainly with Tim coming on board and the equipment, we've seen a lot of positive change, but we definitely have some opportunity with regards to the conditions and how they're being reported. And I can tell you as a pilot that 1 to 2 inches, it matters. And it can almost double, sometimes even triple my performance requirements, runway length requirements. So 1 or 2 inches is impactful. More than 2 inches of snow, a jet is shut down. Okay, if a pilot decides to go into those types of conditions, they are off the charts. There's no performance for more than 2 inches. So it's critical. If we report snow on the runway, but there's ice and it's not reported, that ice significantly affects friction and the ability to stop an airplane. So I think that that was really where some of our concerns have come, was it's really trying to improve the accuracy. The airports it can't be attended 24 hours. In these small airports, we know as operators that you're operating at your own risk outside of normal business hours. So that was to your points and your questions that you're asking. That's why it's really important that pilots know when the airport's being monitored or not, right? But we're also taking in this information that is accurate. You know, for our operation, we're often going out and making our own assessments, and we appreciate the ability to do that. But we really want, you know, we're asking for as accurate information as Derek can provide for us.
One of the things I was thinking earlier when I was asking those questions was, say, the possibility of cameras out there, and then you guys got a website, correct?
You do, yes.
Okay, and then that they could streamed on the website so that,
Yeah.
you know, pilots could just pop on there and see the condition.
Okay, beneficial.
You know,
I don't know. It's
you know
just
what
a
I
thought.
would, one of the things that I would say to that is I would be concerned about liability. Is truly representing the conditions, and that's the challenge that Derek has and every airport manager has with conditions, is that there's a lot of subjectivity to it, and sometimes it's difficult, right, to define specifically you know, what the conditions are. But you got to be brutally honest with it. If the conditions are poor, then you got to report it, and it may shut the airport down. It may restrict certain aircraft, but that's what you have to do, because we don't want anyone to get hurt out there. We don't want to have that liability, you know, trickling in multiple directions.
Right, that's why, you know, like I said, I put that out there, and that's, you know, be something maybe that, you know, since it's not monitored 24/7, at least it would maybe possibly give him more of an idea, maybe not even streaming on there for them, but for him to look at it and you know, like you say, if it looks like it's got 5, 6 inches, because you know how it is, it could snow like the breezes over here and not much over here, so you could see.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where he lives, you know, where is the.
Well, that's a big difference.
Yeah, so
over the
if
hill.
he could see it, and it's only a couple inches, you could say that, but if it's 5, it's.
You know, I think as long as that doesn't become the tool that you rely on, I think I think it could be
It's
a
just a
nice
tool.
additional tool in the bag,
It's a tool.
but you can't rely on something like that, because
Exactly.
there's nothing like a tactile inspection.
You know,
Right.
Mike brings up some really good points. I realize that I'm great at stumbling over my own words and talking about the inches of snow. And for most jet operators, that's, yeah. And frankly, for most jets, period, there's much of any contamination on the runway at all, and it's a no-go. Certainly for commercial operators, they have a far more stringent numbers performance-wise that they have to meet than private, essentially, operators have to. Most of the jets on the market, 5,000 feet, 5,000 foot runway is short in the industry. 5,000 is very short for handling jet traffic. It's basically 5,000 is the bare minimum that these jets need to get in and out on even a good day. You look at Rice Lake, they get 6,500 feet. Go up to Duluth, there's 2 miles. So all of it that plays into the whole process. You know, I mentioned that, you know, Tom and I have had a lot of discussion lately. It's been heavy airport and a bunch of different things. One of them is talking about, and I've got it here in front of me, is a guide to how to handle our ground operations at the airport, like vehicles and stuff out on the runway. I think our snow removal equipment, there's always a real big emphasis on, snow removal equipment, having to monitor the active frequency at the airport, having flashing lights on them. And usually when I go out on the runway, I don't, Tom and I talked about it, me here at aviation, we don't have any county tools at our disposal to be able to execute doing these duties. The county doesn't provide anything for us to do it. I have to provide the insurance in the vehicle to be able to go out and do these runway checks. And that's one of the things Tom and I have talked about, and Tim knows I've talked about it a lot over the years too, about trying to get a vehicle out at the airport for airport management to use to do these tactile, runway checks. And I know it's kind of a loaded, I can't say that, but we go out, we're staffed, FBO staffed 365 days a year. Even in the summertime, I'm out in the runway. Sometimes in the springtime is when I'm out there the most. I'll go out in the runway and taxiways often or frequently in the springtime because that's when birds are making nests and ospreys are always dropping trees in the middle of the runway. It's ridiculous.
What may help too is to consider training. I would say that, and I would ask, what kind of training are you receiving and your employees receiving? Whether it's initial, new hire, recurrent training, that's something that we do regularly in our operation. And, I've been flying for over 35 years, but we still hit on some of these important points when we train, because it's instilling but it's also an opportunity to network and talk to your peers and to get different perspectives. So I would encourage Derek in the county to encourage him to get involved with peer groups, see what other operators are doing. He brought a really interesting point about the knock, and I don't want to change the topic, but I think it would be good for the county to go out and get a different perspective and see what other surrounding airports are doing for de-icing and actually using these chemicals as a preventative. It's more a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. There's different ways to do it, and everyone has different budgets. But that, I think, will help expand knowledge base. And I got to believe that there's tons of opportunities and plenty of training and exposure. And, I've even done this in my own department where I've brought in a consultant because I'm wanting someone to come in and look at it from a different lens. So this is the way I think the department should be run, but let's get a different perspective, because maybe someone can find some opportunities that we can grow. And I really have found that to be a really helpful tool. And I bring this up because the stakes are so high. It's people's lives. It's liability and risk. And that's what we do in aviation, is we can never get away from risk. The county has a fair amount of risk and liability owning an airport. And what you should be focusing on is trying to limit that liability. You're never going to eliminate it, especially in the north. We're dealing with winter conditions, and so it's just trying to mitigate and be as safe as you can. So, again, I'm here to help partner. If I can help in any way, if our organization can help, we really just want a safe environment for our team. We want everyone to be successful out there, and we'd love to be a part of that if we can help. So I'll throw that on the table. It's just that I don't want it to consume who we are either. I've got a business that I need to run as well. But that would be my recommendations, encouragement, is to maybe get a different perspective, and it's to help grow and develop and be the best you can.
Well, you run your facility and like your own, it's kind of like your own, it's an FBO, correct? In a sense?
No, we're just we're a private department that supports the organization.
Yes,
Dale Olson, hand up.
Mr. Olson, a question? Mr. Olson?
How about now?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Mr. Chairman, yeah, Mike, I think it was. I think he's here for a reason. I think he's been very eloquent. I think he wants an objective eye. I believe within the guidance of this committee, there is an employee who is not only a pilot, but a former airport manager. And maybe we could get guidance from within. That might be a good thing. You know, otherwise, if we're talking about who has how much training, then we need to look at bidding. And I don't think anybody wants to do that. And we're laymen, we don't know. So if we could find an objective eye, I think that would be a great idea.
Thank you. Derek?
Is, if you don't mind, it seems like we're having an open dialogue about things. Just a couple of things I'd like
We
to.
want to stay
Yeah.
on this.
Well, you know, in reference to NOTAMs and really it's, the discussion really isn't so much just NOTAM specifically, it's just, you know, what happens at the airport, you know, as far as from a management standpoint. NOTAMs are just, you know, one of the number of tasks that I have to do per the contract. I'd say it's probably up there, you know, with some of the most important things, you know, that the airport manager has to do. It's kind of hard to talk about just one topic of the airport and kind of not talk about operations as a whole. It really is, you know, and I want to say this, you know, as carefully as I can. You know, I know down in the county level, there's been a real emphasis in recent years to, you know, try to save money, you know, try to operate within the budget as best as possible. I certainly feel like there's you know, Tom and I, one other thing we talked about, a discrepancy between, you know, what the airport management is getting paid, you know, and for the industry and for what's, you know, equipment is provided and for what's expected in the airport management agreement, you know, and, you know, not having any vehicles to, you know, support these operations. Essentially, I'm just taking that on as a cost of my FBO, Florida Aviation. Whereas if another entity wanted to come in, provide these services and do things like NOTAMs, you know, they'd have to provide the equipment, the insurance to be able to do it, and the staffing as well. Whereas, you know, I kind of envelop it into my FBO, which makes it a lot easier to swallow, essentially. And Mr. Hoff has said it numerous times, and it's something that I think really gets underlooked and underappreciated is how much of an asset the airport is for the community. And I just want the committee to always kind of keep that in the back of their mind, because, you know, when we start talking about, you know, trying to improve operations, trying to make winter ops better, there's obviously a couple entities, none present here tonight, outside of who's here, that's expressed interest in trying to make, you know, the county open more often for them to be able to come, you know, and it's just, you know, you could try to beat down the budget, and you could try to save as much money as you can, but the airport being an asset needs to be at the forefront of everyone's minds, you know, because when people can't fly in and out of here, it hurts the local economy. It really does. It hurts me as a business owner, as Hayward Aviation, you know, right off the bat.
Yes.
After all your spiel there, I got to ask, what are you asking?
Well, we're
I
just,
mean, you're saying that, you know, we're the budget and, you know, we want to make it better and all that. I think we're doing everything we can right now to make things better out there. And I think you will really appreciate everything you said tonight. And, you know, like I say, you know, we're looking at different tools.
yeah,
I really don't know what you're really expecting.
well, it's just
to
an
come.
emphasis on, you know, trying to continue to make the airport a better, safer place.
And from what I heard from you is, it seems like what you're asking is to maybe do some benchmarking. I do it all the time. I'm in the process of doing that right now. We're benchmarking our safety management system. We're benchmarking our total rewards, what we provide our pilots. We're trying to be competitive in the market because I want to retain talent. I'm benchmarking all the time. I'm reevaluating our training programs and on and on and on. That's kind of what maybe, I don't want to speak for you, but it's kind of what I heard.
We don't get very long to talk. That's just the thing.
Mr. Schuman has a question.
It's actually a comment. Derek, we realize that the airport's an asset for the community. I've been here a long time, so has Mr. Howell and other people, and Mr. Kinsley especially. But, there is a liability as well. And like I told you before, we would like our airport to be sustainable, right? The county puts a lot of money, maybe less now, into the airport. So maybe we need to look at, what people pay for a hangar lease, what we charge for fuel, so we can get closer to that, where we can continue to run our airport. There's assets, liabilities, right? But I understand your speech there, but you got to see where we're at.
Thank you. Yes. Mr. Olson, you got any comment? Mr. Olson?
He's muted.
He'll figure it out.
Daryl, unmute.
How about now?
Yeah, you're good.
I am not good at this. Mr. Schuman beat me to the punch. I'm sorry to waste your time. Just, I understand exactly what Mr. Schuman said. Yes, we all consider the airport a valuable resource. We absolutely do. But like everything else we do, we bid, we do the best for the public. And we have to look at what our pluses and minuses are. And Mike, I'm sorry I didn't catch your last name from Lynx. I thank you so much for coming. I think it's great, but I think you're there for a reason. And I think it would be appropriate for you to be explicit in why you're there, not just as a concerned citizen. Those are all important things that we have to hear. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Thank you, Mike. I'm glad that things worked out of the paper there. Appreciate it.
You bet. Yeah, thank you, John.
Future agenda items. Future agenda item 1 is going to be second courtroom will be coming up within the next few months. I know you were having a conversation with Mr. King. You have any update? Or that's a future agenda item.
Yeah, we'll have something for you next month on that.
Other matters for discussion only. Yes.
The discussion that we had at the end here kind of got off topic on what's on the agenda. If you wanted to discuss that further, we could put that on as a future agenda item. But keep in mind that we did spend, a year and a half reviewing the airport management agreement, negotiating what they do and the price that they do it for. So we just spent the year doing that. That's my only comment there.
Good comment.
That's a good comment, and also I believe that it's going to be one of the forefronts for us to keep moving forward because it's that important. It's no more important than any other thing that we have to take care of, but it's all important. Thank you, Gary. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Derek. And meeting adjourned. Thank you.
You're doing a great job. Thanks.